Welcome back to the CryptoLabs YouTube channel. 4 ways you can earn in DeFi. I think it can get easily overwhelming when you look at the thousands of different platforms, all the coins, tokens, 16 million different lending platforms. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but there's a lot you can do. And in today's video, Colin's going to kind of help us break down what are the four main categories that you can choose from. And it'll go from extremely passive all the way to like more actively managed and less passive. Although everything we're doing in here is fundamentally passive compared to a job where you're trading time for money, there's a gradient to it. And so we're just going to discuss some stuff in part one. And if there's enough interest, let us know in the comments into a part two of this video where we can actually go into some of these platforms and have a look behind the scenes. Then let us know in the comments. And with that said, Colin, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Back on the YouTube channel. Very exciting.
Back on the YouTube.
Yeah, I got a question in the UIG, and this sparked this. I said, "Oh, I got to do a training on this," and I actually went live this week, and I talked about this exact thing in the UIG. Basically, the question was, they were looking at a decentralized exchange, liquidity pools, and then they're also looking at a lending platform, and they were asking, like, is this the same pretty much? And I said, oh, this is a very interesting thing. And the way that I view it here are that there are four main ways that we like to talk about in the UIG, especially to earn rewards in DeFi. Now, understand with DeFi, what we're looking for is a really sustainable approach to earning rewards, right? Getting rewarded for participating in DeFi services. And so there's four DeFi services that I like to cover here: staking, liquid staking, lending, and liquidity providing. And I kind of even divided it up a little bit. On the left-hand side, we have a little bit more passive, right? You can deposit your capital into different platforms, staking, liquid staking, and lending platforms, and you don't really have to do much management. They kind of do it all behind the scenes, and you get rewarded for actively participating in that method. On the right-hand side is liquidity providing, which is where we spend the vast majority of our time and education inside the UIG, because it is more complex, and it requires a lot more education and fundamentals to understanding the mechanics and how these things work. But I did want to show it because I think sometimes, and obviously I got that question because we spend so much time on decentralized exchanges and liquidity pools and those, on the right side, that we sometimes forget about the left-hand side, and that there's actually quite a few opportunities and platforms built in DeFi that's maybe requires less active management. And so why I wanted to pose this to us today on this whiteboard session is, if you're building a DeFi portfolio, look at it and assess, like, is this on par with how you want to manage your portfolio? I got a question a couple weeks ago, but I think it's relevant, is, man, I feel like I'm really active managing my positions here in my DeFi portfolio. Is there anything that's like more passive? And it's like, yeah, of course, you can go wider ranges, you can go full range in your liquidity pools.
Even on the
Yeah,
right-hand side, I just wanted to really add this, is there's a
please.
massive range in liquidity providing. Is you could go full range in blue chip assets. You will probably never touch your portfolio at that point. You'll just keep doing your thing. Or you could go tight range in a volatile asset and you're making, 800% returns, but it's going to be more active. So there's a range to all of this, and you can be as passive or as active as you want to be, depending on how much time and effort you want to put into your portfolio and the returns you get from it. So it's that's why I love
100%.
this space, is you can really select and self-select how you want to run this thing.
Yeah, and make a combo, right? And that's what I
Yeah,
really wanted to show, is like,
little
you can make
combo.
a beautiful harmony of these different types of DeFi earning. You don't have to be just liquidity pools or just lending. Like, you can make a
Mhm.
beautiful combination of these platforms. And Lucas, I know you even do it. Myself, a couple of members and team members as well. We, not to go too deep into strategy here, but actually the YouTube video, everyone loves strategy. So
Do
you
it.
can earn rewards in your liquidity providing pools and then move it over. You can sort of de-risk into different lending and staking and liquid staking platforms. Okay, Lucas, let's break it down a little bit more. So on the left-hand side, the reason why I like these three, and this is why I focus on it, is that it's single asset exposure. And I think it's very valuable to differentiate that versus taking two assets, pairing them together inside of a liquidity pool. Now, I'll talk about that in a minute, but the left-hand side, I like it because you can just take your ETH or your Matic or your Atom or your Sol, whatever assets that you love and you want to hold, as you can take those assets, keep them as a single asset, deposit them into a platform, participate in the DeFi ecosystem, and earn rewards in that same asset. And that's what I love about it, right? Because we're always looking for ways to earn more of the coins and tokens that we want to hold long term. It's kind of how we think about in the UIG. That's always what we're trying to do. How do we add more coins and tokens that we like to hold? So break it down very quickly here. Staking. Now, staking is a term that's tossed around a lot, Lucas. Like, it is like very common term, but what I'm referring to here very specifically is the act of actual staking, which is taking the coins of that the native coin for that blockchain, giving it to a validator to help secure and validate transactions in the network. So you take that ETH, we can stake it directly with a validator. They can use our coins and tokens to validate the network, and in return, we get paid a little bit extra ETH, which is very exciting. However, downside to staking is that you're locking up, you're giving up, not giving up custody necessarily, but you are giving them your tokens, and you cannot do anything else with it. Does that make sense, Lucas? Like, it becomes illiquid. That's
there's
the
an
right
opportunity
term, right?
cost to it because the yields could be higher somewhere else and you can't do anything with it, which is why I'm guessing we're going to segue into liquid staking.
It's exactly where we're going. Yep. So if you still want to participate in that process, you could go to liquid staking, which is a third-party application. And there's many, I'll show you here, and maybe part 2 if you guys want it. There are many platforms out there that you can stake your ETH or stake your SOL or your Matic in with them, and in return they give you a token that represents what you just staked. So the best way I can describe it, Lucas, and I like to use metaphors and analogies in my trainings. Think of it as like if you were to go to a casino and you have $100 bill, and you go to the booth or whatever, and you give them that $100 bill, and they give you back the poker chip. Well, that poker chip is a representation of that $100 bill that you just gave them. So at any point, you can take that poker chip, go back to the booth, and just say, hey, I'd like my $100 back, and they can give you that $100 back. So with liquid staking, it works the same way. But what's great about liquid staking is that you get to participate in the staking process, but you get back this poker chip, this receipt, this token that then you can go and take it to different DeFi platforms like lending, liquidity providing, and now you can, I like to call it like double dipping, where you can take this token and now lend it out for a little bit extra. So not only are your liquid staking tokens appreciating at that staking rate, which is generally like 3 to 8% is what I've seen. But now you can lend it for another couple of percent, or you can go bring it to a liquidity pool, put that inside of a liquidity pool where now you're earning more rewards. So left-hand side staking, great. It's like a really fundamental, like at the really foundational level in DeFi. But now we take it a step further. We're talking about lending, and Lucas got a lot of videos on the YouTube channel about lending. But I'm
big on lending. Just to come back to the liquid staking idea,
yeah,
I love
please,
that analogy. Is you give $100 to the casino, and it would be like, okay, that casino is going to make you returns on that $100, so you're kind of stoked on it. And they're also going to give you a token in return that you can take that token and you can go gamble it basically, or participate in the casino and earn rewards on it. That's basically liquid staking. You can do whatever you want with that MSOL or staked ETH or whatever you have. And we'll do a part 2 where we go into some of these platforms while your original deposit is earning you yield. So it's kind of like you said, double dipping. That's a great analogy. Like I love that.
Yeah. Into just describe it just a little bit more, because I think a lot of people get hung up on that piece. Is the poker chip that I get back? I gave $100 and I get the poker chip back. The poker chip is appreciating in value as the rewards from the staking, staking process is compounded back into the value of this token. So I'll give you an example. Like, you don't have to, I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't have to do anything with this token if you don't want to.
I know what you're saying.
You can stake it. You can hold that MSOL or staked ETH and just hold it, and it will appreciate in value at that 3, 6, 8% clip or whatever the staking rewards are. So you don't have to go to a different DeFi ecosystem to use it, but that's the great piece, is that this is liquid now. I can now take it, go over to the lending booth, and I can lend it for extra, or I can go bring it to a liquidity providing platform like a decentralized exchange and earn extra there. So it's very, very cool what's kind of being built here in DeFi. So a lot of people don't really know a lot about liquid staking. They see STETH and they're like, what's the difference? Well, there's the difference for you. That's the definition. So that's that. Then we got lending. This is a very traditional. I'm not going to go too deep into this. Lucas has a lot of resources on this YouTube channel about lending, but very traditional. What you think about in terms of a banking, like you become the bank. I have ETH, I have USDC, I have whatever it is that you own. You can lend it into a lending protocol. You can borrow against it if you'd like to, but you don't have to. You can just lend it and just collect the rewards
Great returns.
yeah, great returns, really great returns. So that's like, speed up this up a little bit because that's all on passive side, right? Very passive. You deposit it in, you can hold it, you can lend it. When you lend it, you're just putting it in the platform and it's kind of hands off from there. You don't have to do much active management. On the right-hand side is where we spend the vast majority of our time in the UIG. And that is just because of how much, how fast it moves and the mechanics behind it are sort of complex. So I'm not going to go
And the
too deep into
returns are
this.
10 times
Yeah,
higher.
100%. Yeah. Right side, very lucrative. Left hand side, not as much. It's still great, but not as much. But one thing I did want to mention here to go back to the, there's a lot of positives and a lot of great things about liquidity providing, which you can see on this YouTube channel. But the one big risk now in terms of the difference between the left side and the right side is when you take two assets and you pair them together, especially if it's a concentrated pool, the price of these assets priced in each other, how they relate to each other, determines what the ratio of these assets will be. And so remember when I said at the beginning of this video, I like the left-hand side because it is single asset exposure. The right-hand side, although it's much more lucrative, on the right-hand side, you have two assets that are paired. As the price of these move back and forth inside of your range, the ratio of these assets start to shift. So you might start off with, Lucas, if I can do this real quick, we have two red chips, two white chips. But as the price of red moves up and as the price of white starts to move down, the ratio of these assets start to shift. So if red is going up while white is going down, red will start to get converted into white. And now you might have one red chip, three white chips. And so you see as the price moves, the ratio of the assets inside the pool shift. And so that's just one risk or one thing to be aware of. Although it's much better returns on the right hand side, it's more active. That there is that risk of getting converted into one or the other depending on the price action. So, oh gosh, there's a lot more we could talk about, but that's I just want to show. Hey, here are the 4 ways that we can earn. Oh, Lucas, completely forgot. How are we earning? How are we earning on the right hand side? Liquidity providing. How are we actually earning rewards? Well, I take ETH and Mason token. You know, we always joke about that. I take ETH and I take Mason token. I deposit it into a liquidity pool on a decentralized exchange. And now when a user comes to the platform, to the DEX, and they say, well, I have ETH, but I want Mason token. Well, they just facilitate that swap inside of the pool, and they pay a small fee called the fee tier, right? The fee tier. That fee is then distributed to the people that are providing liquidity. So for me as a liquidity provider, I take ETH, I take Mace tokens, deposit them in the pool. Lucas comes, he swaps ETH for Mace, he pays a fee. That fee then comes to me as a liquidity provider. So that's the idea there. That's how we earn in 4 different ways here on DeFi.
Guys, so good. If you're watching this and you have questions or follow-up questions, leave it in the comments. I know on the surface, sometimes this stuff can seem so basic, but every time I get someone who's like, oh, I already know that, or this is so basic, I'm just like, well, show me what you're earning. And they're like, well, I'm like, you don't know it. You know the theory of it, but have you played with each one of these? And I promise you, even if you're advanced, go play with liquid staking, go play with some staking, go play with some lending, go join some concentrated liquidity pools, full range liquidity pools, go wide, go short, like play with it and you'll become a better DeFi. I think is best done, not kind of learned, so to speak, from a textbook, and you want a bit of both. So hang on to this YouTube channel for a bit, but I challenge you, go spend $5 and go liquid stake and go on, you know, we'll share a part 2 to this video and we'll actually show some platforms just to do it. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with this stuff. So hang on to this YouTube channel for a bit, like this video, subscribe to this channel. If you want a part 2, do let me know. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And with that said, we'll leave some 4 videos on the screens. We'll leave some video. Colin, you're a great educator. You got some really wicked videos on this YouTube channel that go deeper on this stuff. I'll leave those videos up on the screen for your viewing pleasures. And with that said, we'll see you in the next video.